10 Surprising Fun Facts Around the World. Interesting and surprising facts aren't just amusing pieces of information that will make you a whiz at answering trivia questions. They're legitimately fascinating, whether you're into weird facts that almost don't sound true, but totally are. So here are the top 10 surprising fun facts around the world. Number 10. The cornea is one of only 2 parts of the human body without blood vessels. The cornea is the clear part of the eye that covers the pupil and other parts of the eye. Cartilage and the cornea are the only types tissue in the human body that do not contain blood vessels. It gets oxygen directly through the air. The cornea is the fastest healing tissue in the human body, thus, most corneal abrasions will heal within 24 to 36 hours. The transparent front part of the eye that covers the iris, pupil, and anterior chamber, providing most of an eye's optical power. The cornea has unmyelinated nerve endings sensitive to touch. Temperature and chemicals. A touch of the cornea causes an involuntary reflex to close the eyelid. Because transparency is of prime importance, the cornea does not have blood vessels. It receives nutrients via diffusion from the tear fluid at the outside and the aqueous humor at the inside, and also from neurotrophins, supplied by nerve fibers that innervate it. Number 9. The world's first feature-length animated film was made in Argentina. Even if you're familiar with Disney trivia, you might think that the first feature-length animated film credited to Walt Disney's his 1937 film Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. But 20 years before that, a feature-length animated feature film was shot in Argentina. According to Guinness World Records, it was a political satire called El Apostol, which consisted of 58,000 paintings and had a running time of his 70 minutes. El Apostol, English, The Apostle, is a 1917 lost Argentine animated film using cutout animation. Italian-Argentine immigrants Carino Cristiani and Federico Valle directed and produced, respectively. The film began production after the success of Cristiani and Valle's short film, La Intervención a la Provincia de Buenos Aires, and was produced in less than 10 months or in 12 months, accounts differ. Its script was written by Alfonso de la Ferrer, the background models of Buenos Aires were created by Andrés Ducad, and the initial character designs were drawn by Diogenes Taborda. Number 8. The inventor of the microwave received only $2 for his invention. Percy Spencer was working as a researcher at the American appliance company, now Raytheon, when he noticed a radar device that used electromagnetic waves to melt the candy bars in his pockets. He had the idea to build a metal box that used microwaves to heat food, but it was the company that applied for the patent. For his invention, Spencer received no royalties, but he was paid a one-time $2 gratuity from Raytheon, the same token payment the company made to all inventors on its payroll at that time for company patents. Raytheon filed a U.S. patent on October 8, 1945, for a microwave cooking oven, eventually named the Radarange. In 1947, the first commercially produced microwave oven was about 6 feet tall, weighed about 750 pounds, and cost about $5,000, equivalent to $60,678 in 2021. In 1967, the first relatively affordable, $495, equivalent to $4,023 in 2021, and reasonably sized, countertop microwave oven was available for sale, produced by Amana, a division of Raytheon. Number 7. Onions were found in ancient Egyptian mummies' eyes. Ramesses IV, who became pharaoh at the age of 40, would have reigned between 1153 BC and 1146 BC. Ruled for only 7 years. After his death, his burial took place in the Valley of the Kings, where it was discovered and exhumed in 1718. Thus, the mummy of Ramesses IV reveals an unexpected burial ceremony in ancient Egypt. Naturally, the pharaoh's human flesh and tissues were corrupt. Surprisingly, however, a small onion was found in the eye socket, probably thousands of years old, assuming it had been removed from the eye socket during mummification. In addition to its daily food use, onions are commonly believed to have many medicinal properties, which in ancient Egypt made them a universal remedy for warding off disease and the evil eye. It has antiseptic and deodorant properties and can be included in the antiseptic rites of 11. Onions are buried inside the body, especially around the legs of mummies. Onions are also part of the offerings made to the pharaohs on the night of divination of the deceased, symbolizing light and purification. The onion is believed to purify the pharaoh's mouth during the mouth-opening ceremony and awaken the heart of the sun. The bulbs then move into the deceased's nostrils, allowing him to breathe new life into them. Reproduction. Number 6. Abraham Lincoln was a licensed bartender. Before becoming president, Abraham Lincoln was a lawyer. And before he became a lawyer, he was something else entirely, a bartender. The nation's highest office holders often have a close relationship with alcohol, like George Washington, who founded the nation's largest whiskey distillery in 1797, and Thomas Jefferson, who brewed his own beer. Andrew Jackson's opening party in 1829 was so legendary that we still drink the orange punch partygoers consumed, but Lincoln is the only president who is also a licensed bartender. Lincoln was the co-owner of Berry and Lincoln, a shop/beverage in New Salem, Illinois, where he lived from 1831 to 1837. He first got there in a flatboat at the age of 22 and was on his way to New Orleans. His boat got stuck there, and after visiting New Orleans, he went back to New Salem and decided to stay. He worked as a store clerk, served in the militia, and ran unsuccessfully for office. Then, in 1833, he opened a small shop. In January 1833, he teamed up with his militia friend, William F. Berry, to purchase a small store they named Berry and Lincoln. Number 5. The first commercial passenger flight lasted only 23 minutes. Tony Jannus conducted the United States' first scheduled commercial airline flight on January 1, 1914 for the St. Petersburg-Tampa airboat line. The 23-minute flight traveled between St. Petersburg, Florida and Tampa, Florida, passing some 50 feet, 15 meters above Tampa Bay in Jannus' Benoist 14 wood and muslin biplane flying boat. His passenger was a former mayor of St. Petersburg, who paid $400 for the privilege of sitting on a wooden bench in the open cockpit. The airboat line operated for about 4 months, carrying more than 1,200 passengers who paid $5 each. Chalk's International Airlines began service between Miami and Bimini in the Bahamas in February 1919. Based in Fort Lauderdale, Chalk's claimed to be the oldest continuously operating airline in the United States until its closure in 2008. Number 4. The lemon floats, but lime sinks. If you are someone who often mixes fruit in water, you may have noticed that most of the fruit in your glass floats to the top, creating a colorful and delicious combination. One of our employees noticed that the lemon slices in his pickle floated to the top, while the lime slices sank. Shouldn't two fruits float on the glass? The reason why limes sink and lemon float is because of density or mass per unit volume. An object will float if it is lighter than the liquid containing it and will sink if it is heavier than the liquid containing it. Both lemons and limes have very close densities to water, so you can assume they both float on top of water. However, yellow lemons are slightly thicker than regular lemons, which is why limes sink and lemons float. Number 3. Peanuts aren't technically a nuts. Although peanut has the word nut in its name, it is not actually a nut. It is actually a legume. Peanuts are legumes, which are edible seeds encased in shells and belong to the same family as beans, lentils, and peas. Like soybeans, lentils, and other legumes, peanuts are edible seeds that grow in pods. Still, most people think of them as nuts, along with tree nuts such as walnuts, almonds, and hazelnuts. Meanwhile, nuts, including but not limited to walnuts, cashews, almonds, and pecans, are all produced on the tree. Number 2. Some species of octopus lay 56,000 eggs at a time. On average, a giant Pacific octopus will lay 56,000 eggs by the end of its gestation period, in about a month, NPR reported. At first, these infants floated in the surrounding waters without sticking to each other or to their mothers. But then the mother picks up each egg, about the size of a grain of rice, and weaves them into braids, allowing her to keep an eye on everyone at once. It takes 2 octopuses, a male and a female, to produce 56,000 eggs. On average, the output is stable, i.e., 2 parents will be replaced by 2 children. Number 1. Mercedes invents a joystick-controlled car. Mercedes-Benz developed a concept car in 1996 that will still make gamers eager and hesitant to test drive it today. The F200 Imagination replaced the traditional steering wheel with a joystick and was recently sold for $10 million.